now it's looking at from a commercial view, and Mark Whitworth is going to talk to us from the Port of Tauranga. And this is a collaborative initiative that they've come up with that we in Tauranga are very involved in, as in Kiwifruit Vine Health. And this is about collaboration, it's about knowledge sharing, it's about capability building. And this is a very positive in terms of that capability and visibility raising for biosecurity. Mark.
I got muddled up, sorry. Wait for the slide to come. Hopefully get. I was trying to catch your eye to see. Yeah, no, it's cool. Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As I said, my name is Mark Whitworth. I'm from the Port of Tauranga. So I'm part of the commercial team, and I'm the Port's lead person driving this Biosecurity Excellence to the Port of Tauranga project. The Biosecurity Excellence Working Group was created around mid-2014, and it rolled out of the response of the biosecurity efforts that were happening historically. And around that time, PSA through the kiwifruit and the painted apple moth that was found through Auckland. Our partners in the initiative are MPI and Kiwifruit Vine Health. And first up, we must recognise the contribution our partners play in this and have brought to the initiative. Our business model is to actively engage in our key stakeholders and incorporate key outcomes into our day-to-day operations. Whilst we must continue to have a commercial focus and responsibility to our shareholders, our business practices are influenced by a social and environmental responsibility. The Port of Tauranga is the largest port in New Zealand. We handle around about 20 million tonnes of cargo annually. We are the primary import and export gateway to and from our markets. And the Port of Tauranga is actively engaged in the initiative, and we are pleased to see that over time, since the inception, we have created a greater awareness in the wider port community to reduce the risk of biosecurity incursions that could impact on the vital primary industries and, more importantly, the regional economy. The focus has been understanding the existing practices and how they are measured and implemented. This has been followed up by identifying both existing and future potential risks, and along with opportunities for improvement. So we've landed on a key set of objectives. We know with the lofty goal of having no biosecurity incursions through the Port of Tauranga, through a port community that is focused and committed to biosecurity excellence. And this slide outlines, those 7 objectives. From everyone being committed to on the port to be part of the biosecurity team. Decisions informed by understanding the biosecurity risks. Strong incentives to take biosecurity seriously. Unwelcome arrivals are destroyed or detected early, and be prepared to minimise the impact of biosecurity events. We understand the difference that biosecurity excellence makes, and the national model for port biosecurity excellence. And this all flows through into the theme of Biosecurity 2025. And so this really leads on to it. So some of the things we've been doing, we've been putting together a lot of information packs, and first and foremost, we're really trying to target the port community. As I said, we are the largest port by volume and the largest container port in New Zealand. So we've got the pipeline that flows through us. So we've got a huge resource there on port that can essentially the eyes and ears of the port. And we're starting to outline some of that key strategy and implement with induction processes that we can roll out to the staff that are on the port. And this is really, this is sort of 101, but it's starting to build that picture that everybody is important. We're profiling different pests, and our ability as a port company is that we've got a huge database of people and companies and associates that we can push this message out to. And so we're starting to utilise that pipeline, and so we can start to profile at certain times and push that message out. And the key themes around that are those ones that are at risk to us at that time. key milestone through this process and on the journey was the formal launch of the initiative on the 25th of February 2016. We hosted the Minister for Primary Industries, the Honourable Nathan Guy, and he was accompanied by the Honourable Todd McClay, along with representatives from KVH, MPI and invited guests. The launch of this then started a rollout of a whole lot of different things that we could push out to the port community, but also the wider community that goes beyond that, the transitional facilities that are in the Bay of Plenty. Now, this is an example of the wall planner that came out for this year. It was followed up by a successful calendar that we did the previous year. And again, we tried to mix it up. We thought, do we do the calendar? It's really successful for 2016, but let's change the dynamic a little bit so it doesn't get stale, so you don't have a repeat of a calendar that's still sitting on someone's wall, as you normally see, normally resigned into the toilet block as the last resource. But the wall planner was the same sort of model, and it hit the theme of promoting the high-risk pest incursions at a certain time of year. We then rolled out a biosecurity week through the port community, and we really find that having a bit of a barbecue and a run on the port gets a whole lot of attention from staff, particularly if you do it through the lunch period. And in this case here, this was set up with our collaboratively with MPI. And I know it's back to the simple tools that have been tried and tested, but there's huge interest in some of this stuff. People see the MPI, particularly with the cruise facility, and go, here's an X-ray machine. What can you actually see? And it's actually quite good to get people onto the other side and actually physically show what was there. We tried to roll it out into the community, and at the same time, we managed to put a suffering KVH member into the Beagle suit and walk around the mount and trying to garner some attention. And we probably had a little bit of a fail on this one. We didn't get the community buy-in that we thought would attract. But hey, you know, unless you try something, you can't learn from some of those mistakes. But I think we probably thought the allure of the Beagle and that sort of thing on a cruise day might work. But hey, look, it's focused our attention. We know what does and doesn't work, and so we can then start to think for this coming year what particularly will work, and particularly as we push this initiative, not only from the port, but out into the wider community. But we continue to evolve, and we've started to work, and we've landed on these key messages that we need to start to put out to our stakeholders. You know, that everyone has a role to play in keeping out unwanted pests. What to do day to day does make a difference in the way we manage biosecurity risk. Biosecurity does matter at the Port of Tauranga, and it is a significant business risk. The work we do together will improve our understanding of the biosecurity risks we face locally and make sure we're aware of new and emerging risks. And we're committed to biosecurity excellence, doing more than the minimum to actively reduce biosecurity risk and set an example for others to follow. So where to from here? So we continue to roll this out. The strategic intent of the partnership is to enable all parties to be more effectively manage their business risk. This entails a shift in thinking away from a focus on doing the right thing to meet minimum requirements, to actively pursuing operational excellence and biosecurity. This is about raising the bar to new heights and making excellence the norm. Biosecurity is not a one-off exercise. It is about changing the way we work day to day, becoming more vigilant, educating and improving practices, along with increased monitoring and reporting. It is clear biosecurity excellence can only be achieved if we all work together towards common goals. After a few short years and with positive engagement from all parties, the partnership will now build on the work that has been undertaken so far and put in a clear plan in place for communication activities that involve targeted, aligned tactics that are visible to all key audiences. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark, and it's nice to have a different perspective on an activity that's actually underway. Have you got any questions for Mark?
There is interest in it from other ports. At this point, we want to just really cement what we're doing in Tauranga and develop a framework that then we can start to look to roll out over time at other ports. This is part of the work stream that is working out of this, this initiative, is that through our partners and then into the research community, we're looking at ways that we can fund some of those initiatives, get some research. So it all, it all works really well in terms of, what's being talked at today, and what other speakers are talking about is that, we have the ability to start to drive some of that, and the port is open and fully recognises the part we play in developing some of those technologies.
Mark, just perhaps a little comment on having seen you in operation when a cruise ship came in, a little bit of comment on the reaction of the cruise ship passengers coming in through the system?
Yeah, I guess we probably all underestimated the cruise pathway. And so it wasn't until MPI really started to do a whole lot of research around the numbers. Yes, like everything, it's no different to an airport. You start to get a little bit of pushback when there's a beagle or there's an X-ray machine standing at the bottom of the gangway. But again, it's raising that profile, and it also works outside the port gate, is that there is community interest in cruise. There is also some community concern around cruise and potentially what happens. So by able to being able to show that we can proactively manage that risk on the port.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.